Hey, real estate rock stars. Christina Leavenworth here, and today you are in for a treat. The person we are interviewing started in real estate just 2 years ago. Great market, right? And hired a director of operations after he sold his sixth deal. He has been motivated, he's had a clear plan, and he really knows how to put the right people in the right seats. You're going to love this episode. Without further ado, I am joined by James Faillettaz. His name is spelled crazy, so I'm happy I said it right. This guy is a rock star. How are you doing today?
I'm doing really well. How are you?
Doing great, doing great. We were able to talk a little bit before we hit the good old record button. And this guy has built a team in the last year. He comes from a heavy investing background and then jumped into real estate. But why don't you just tell us who you are in a nutshell?
Yeah, well, that's kind of a loaded question. We'll do the abbreviated version, but I grew up for most of my life in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Has been you know, in sales and investing loosely for a really long time. I sold toffee covered peanuts door to door to fundraise my way to camp when I was 7 to 14. I was dabbling in the stock market from 15 till about 22. So it's kind of that's a little bit in my blood. But after I graduated from college, I started a real estate investment company with about 5 units in a spreadsheet and got heavily into investing in property management and construction. And then a little bit more recently, within the last 2 years, I got my agent's license because I just thought I did a lot of this for myself. I could provide value. The agent commission checks don't hurt. And slowly but surely started to take on clients in a third party manner, like not representing myself. And about a year ago, I brought on a director of operations who at the time, I had done 6 or 7 transactions, kind of sold the vision, got him to quit his high paying sales job. And now we have a full fledged agent team with a admin assistant, a virtual admin assistant, a commercial agent, multifamily agent, my director of operations, who's also an agent, a residential agent, and myself.
Wow, that is fast. Only selling 6 or 7 homes and then hiring a director of ops.
Yeah, I mean, I could see the kind of future. I think I came about it, came at it, if you will, with a pretty entrepreneurial mindset. I had built companies in the past. I wasn't looking at just kind of being an agent. I was kind of looking at how could I build a company around the real estate agent business.
Got it. And you mentioned you have like a multifamily expert. You have this. So your person that's selling multifamily, are they only selling multifamily or they can sell really anything they want?
So, I mean, they can sell anything they want. Something that we've done within the past 4 or 5 months, and that's really our main goal for 2026 is, and we kind of took this from the property management business, but is to split our agent business into different tracks. So in property management, you have leasing, you have rent collection and delinquency, you have maintenance and repair, and kind of looking at that framework because we still run one of those businesses, kind of doing the same thing with our agent business. So we realized that we were a little all over the board. So we have a big commercial leasing contract with a redevelopment company in Minneapolis. So we lease all of their 2 million square feet. We have a large pool of mid to large multifamily buyers from my investment kind of contacts. We have a number of residential clients from Zillow leads that I had gotten from a past realtor referral relationship and my own kind of personal sphere here in the Twin Cities that I've built up. I did house hacking in the beginning, and we've kind of plastered our name out there to do be good at house hacking. and I know a lot about it because of the kind of experience I've had. So we have a bunch of those leads as well. So me and my director of ops were running around with like chickens with our head cut off because one day we're going to meet an apartment building owner and the next day we're going to show an 800 square foot like art loft space, and then we're going to do a residential showing. So it's like, okay, something needs to change. We need to kind of specialize. We need to have our own tracks. So we created kind of a residential and small multifamily tract. The just purely like 7 units and up multifamily tract for apartments, and then all inclusive commercial. And, it's not perfect, but we've kind of created these tracks. And it's like, if you get a lead and it's not in your tract and it's not friends and family, you should just refer it out so you can really specialize, be kind of honing your craft. And then other people in different tracks will do the same thing, kind of have that reciprocity flowing.
No, that makes sense. If you're, helping mostly investors and then you have a family buying their first home and they're trying to figure out what type of down payment assistance they can get, the person selling a lot of multifamily isn't going to understand it as well as your residential expert.
Yeah,
Yeah,
100%. And I don't think the passion is there either.
for
You
sure.
know, when I look at, someone who deals strictly with numbers and who's trying to help their investor get into a multifamily building, like they have some of it, but it is a much different skill set than like one of our rock star residential agents who's like excited about buying a closing gift and wants to make sure the inspection goes well and like these specific things where it's like it just feels like this agent is providing more value to our clients than this agent would, even though they're both, equally as smart, but they just have their own skill sets.
For sure. So you jumped into the market as an agent in one of the worst times in the past 15 years. What did your business look like? Like, how many units did you sell the first year versus the second year? Tell me about that.
Well, I kind of, a quote that I really love is like, necessity breeds innovation, or necessity is the precursor to innovation, or whatever kind of um, iteration you want to have of it. But I had basically gone through a couple different steps in my business. I was restructuring some of the investment side of things. So I had to cut my salary. So I didn't have an income. I like needed to make money. And I think I got lucky in some ways. I think I was prepared for the opportunity that came across my desk. But the agent that had helped me kind of build and buy my first 13 buildings, she had just gone through the kind of height of the 21, 22, 23 market. So she was so busy and she was paying for Zillow leads. And we were out at a lunch and I saw that Zillow was like calling her phone. And I was like, why is Zillow calling you? She's like, oh, no, it's a lead. Long story short, I started picking those leads up and giving her a referral fee, and kind of started to get the reps in, and then started to market to my own tenant base and my own like sphere of influence with business and then like social sphere. So I ended up doing 24 transactions my first year as an agent. And it was a pretty good mix of like maybe 1/3 Zillow leads, 1/3 business sphere, 1/3 personal sphere.
Well, awesome. And then how has and the second year is really where you've grown the team, where you brought in more people. What does this look like for you guys?
Yeah, so the second year it's been amazing. I think that we've had a couple opportunities to start do some larger scale commercial leasing at a warehouse that we were helping an investor potentially sell, but then they decided to keep it. And then we started doing some of that leasing. And then we kind of dipped our toes in that water, did a really good job with kind of alternative marketing. So we were posting, a lot on Facebook Marketplace, but sometimes even in different languages. There's a large like Hmong population in the Twin Cities, and there's a large Hispanic population. So we'd post Facebook Marketplace ads for like these small to mid-sized spaces in different languages, and like throw a couple dollars behind them on Facebook, and that was like very helpful. So we weren't only taking the kind of, CBRE, like create some beautiful offering memorandum, posted on LoopNet approach. We were doing that, but we were going from the bottom up too and the top down. And we kind of found a little niche in that commercial leasing space. And then I had a prior relationship with the owners and one of the like kind of high level employees of a company called First and First, which they do a lot of commercial redevelopment. So we went and talked to them, me and my director of operations, about what we could do for them and kind of signed an exclusive deal where we're doing all of their leasing now on 2 million square feet citywide. So that's about 1/3 of the business. And we'll probably all in. It's a little tricky. It's not the same as like selling a home or an apartment building because some of the deals are much smaller, but we'll probably do about 35 to 40 units of commercial leasing slash buying and selling. And we did 2 in 2024. So that kind of aspect has really taken off. And then one of our other niches is multifamily. And we've found that like just really putting in we didn't have a bunch of experience. I mean, we had I had my knowledge base, but we had never like truly sold a multifamily building. I had bought them, so that kind of gave us the other side. But one thing that we could lead with was like, we'll just spend a bunch of time on this. We'll create these really nice offering memorandums, and then we will kind of draw a circle around the property, and anyone that owns a similar property within that geographic circle, we'll call every single person.
Mm.
3, 4, 500 people. Me and my director of operations would split the list and we'd call, and that led to a lot more listings and good buyers. And then the residential business kept up and the referrals kept coming in. So we'll probably, all in all, with commercial, multifamily, residential, and small multi, and with the team, we've started giving out a lot of leads for residential. I don't really take any residential leads besides friends and family. I don't really take any commercial leasing leads anymore. I'm really only doing large multi and large commercial. But as a team, we'll probably do like 75 units in 2025.
Awesome. That's incredible growth from year one to here. So, a lot of agents, one time at our real estate rockstars mastermind, someone got up and they said, as an agent, if you are just getting commission, you're essentially working for tips. You need to start investing so you have, this passive income. And that was really impactful to all of us. It was like, oh my gosh, we are all waiters and waitresses working for tips right now. So, it really changed the thinking. And I've had the opportunity with a few sellers, like, yeah, where they go, we don't want people in our house. We'd rather you just buy it for X amount less. And a lot of people can't imagine anyone would want to do that, but they do. And you've been in this investing space. You said you're great at creative financing. What is the like craziest creative financing deal you've ever had?
Hmm. I mean, well, we took down a 36 unit and a 33 unit with zero money down this year. I mean, combined, probably $8 million worth of real estate for on a zero money down master lease with purchase options. Like, so that was pretty creative.
So how? How? Like, how do you find these people? Why
Yeah.
do they want to do that?
Well, and I think you alluded to it a little bit before that, where it's like, people would think like, why would anyone want to do that? Or like, why would somebody want to not have anyone in their home and take less money and just have a cash buyer or something like that? But it's like everyone's circumstance is different and like the value proposition that you can bring to people is different. And I think, generally speaking, in like the agent world or as in the like real estate agent game, it's like what you're trying to deliver your clients is like security of an offer, the highest price possible, and like speed. Like those are kind of the general. I mean, sometimes it's like comfort and you could maybe loop that into security of an offer, like, but those are the three things that I kind of look at it as. And, these buildings were they were struggling. The culture of the buildings had suffered. They were beginning to be a headache. They were hard to manage. They were beginning to be an economic suck. So like they were taking money rather than producing it because of like the kind of snowball effect that you have with bad culture, bad management. There was high vacancy, high loss to collections, high maintenance and repair because it was all, reactive rather than preventative at this point. So these were problems,
Mhm.
like serious problems. And even if, they actually approached me as being the agent. So again,
Mhm.
you know, having the value prop, hey, we've sold buildings in the past, we've sold problem buildings in the past, we've been able to kind of help write the narrative to provide the most value and bring people in. So they were like, hey, can you help us sell these? And when we're going through it, I realized that like, they had a decent chunk of equity in them. They wanted a specific price, but really the largest thing that they wanted was like, these are, very successful guys out of California. Their time is incredibly valuable. They do like very interesting things. And it's like, if we could just solve the time aspect, the headache aspect of it, like the speed aspect, that's the thing that they want the most. And like security. They don't need this, equity money back right away. They don't need to be cashed out. They don't like if the headache is gone and it happens quickly, like those are the two biggest pain points for them. So, I had done some master lease with purchase options in the past, kind of on this same prerogative.
Can you explain what
Um,
that means? That's not seller financing, right?
no, it's close, but it's it's like one step removed. And the reason you do that is um there's a couple different reasons. But the reasons I did it was one, during the last 5 years, people have gotten really good bank notes. So let's take, for instance, I did it. The first one I ever did it on was a 17 unit building, and their bank note on that debt was 2.95. And like when I master leased it, I said that I was going to pay their principal, interest, taxes, insurance, utilities, maintenance and repair, capex, and like all other things associated. But really, it's principal, interest, taxes, insurance.
Mhm.
Those are the kind of the big ones. And what I'm doing for them is I'm giving them a return over time, and I'm waiving my agent commission when I transact on the deal with buying and selling.
Mm.
So, they're highly leveraged on this building. Let's say they have $100,000 worth of equity, but the building costs $1 million. Like just by me waiving my, a 5% commission, that's a 50% return on their equity right there.
Mhm.
And these numbers aren't real, but hypothetically, because of the leverage, waiving an agent commission, especially if you're going to be doing both the buying and the selling, huge kind of like value prop that you can provide to a seller. And then um I was also giving them a return on their equity. We decided the building was worth X. They had X amount of debt, so they had, let's say again, $100,000 worth of equity. Over 24 months, I said I was going to give them a 30% return.
Okay.
So I was going to provide them $130,000 when they sold. So they're getting a 30% return on equity plus waiving the agent commission. So I mean,
Essentially
for this specific,
180,000.
yeah, and for this specific deal, I think I gave them in 2 years, I gave them a 40% return on their equity, which is like, how can you do that?
Mm,
But the debt was doing 60% of the battle.
mm.
Waiving my agent commission was doing the other 30%. So I have to give them 10% equity to basically control the property, get all the profits, be able to work on it for 2 years and then buy it. Like it was, it worked for me, but it also worked for them.
So you're responsible for all repairs, but you also get all rents. If things end up being more of a nightmare, that's on you, even though it doesn't deed over, that master lease makes you responsible for it.
Yep. But I also own a property management company.
Yeah.
I also own a construction company.
Yeah.
So these are like, I'm able to kind of flex those muscles to
Mhm.
take on problems or like to have more tools in my toolkit. But for your average agent, you are you might not own a property management company, you might not own a construction company, but maybe you partner with somebody who owns a construction company. Or maybe, you know, the partner is the construction company, you waive your agent commission, so you're not getting the tips, which
Mhm.
you and I both know sometimes those tips are pretty nice, but you are setting up this deal that's going to kind of in perpetuity pay you by kind of short-term pain for long-term gain.
So with the purchase option, you could back out at 2 years, it still gives you that right?
Yes. But one of the things that I've done is I've invested, construction dollars
Mhm.
when I'm taking these properties over. They're usually at a negative profitability. So I'm having to put money into them day one just to pay the principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. And then I'm putting more money in and like renovating every single unit.
Okay.
So if I was to give these back to them,
Yeah.
these sellers would be ecstatic
Yeah.
because they would just go find another agent, they would list it, and it's
Yeah.
like every single unit has been renovated. A lot of the tenants that were problems have been asked to leave.
Yeah.
We've kind of completely changed the culture of these buildings, and they're running great.
Yeah, you stabilize their product essentially for nothing.
Mhm.
Oh, no,
Yeah.
that's super interesting. Whenever I do these interviews, pretty much the overall theme I always hear is just hunger. Like how you said you didn't have a salary, so you're asking your friend who's getting Zillow leads, saying, "Hey, I'll pick them up," and looking for opportunity. Do you think there's a way to teach hunger?
That's a that's a good question. I
Now,
mean,
as a team leader, I'm sure you see
yeah.
different levels of hunger all the time.
Yeah, I mean, there's that classic quote of like, you know, hard times create strong people create easy easy times create weak people create hard times, or
Yeah,
something like that.
yeah.
Um, where it's like, unless you kinda had hard times, like, are you gonna really have that hunger? Like, I go back and forth, and it's something that I think about too because in some ways, I was raised in like a you could call it like an economic deficit. We
Mhm,
didn't always have too much money, and I think that's what gave me some of my hunger. But I think about it for like I don't have kids yet, but I'm thinking about having kids, and it's like it's just not gonna be the same situation for
mhm,
them. But I don't wanna have like non-hungry children, if you
mhm,
will. I think that like there are different things that can motivate people. If just because you don't have the stick, like you don't have the like, I need to find food, I need to find a place to sleep, I need to find like that kind of punishment as motivation. You could have the carrot as motivation, and that could create hunger too. And some people get that more through like kind of that, I wouldn't say totally like philanthropic, but more through the like social aspect. I know one of the residential agents on our team, like she is truthfully hungry because she like when she finds a place that like she's created an emotional connection with a client and like she's bringing value to them and she's thinking about it. Like I saw her writing down once, like, this is going to make my client's life better because they're having a child. They need more square footage. They're not in the neighborhood they like. They have all these problems. And it's like finding that hunger or motivation through understanding and like speaking to them in like a social aspect. Um, and then like, the classic Wolf of Wall Street or money creates hunger.
mhm,
You can always find something to do that's fun with money, whether it's like go have a nice meal for $30 or go buy a first class plane ticket and go to Asia for $30,000. Like you can kind of show that spectrum. And I think that creates a little bit of hunger. But that's a really good question. I don't I think there are ways to kind of create slash show, but I would say hunger is different than motivation.
yeah.
Hunger feels more like desperate. Feels more like, necessity. And motivation feels like, unless you really continue and are very diligent about creating the next reason why,
Mhm.
I think motivation will fade, but hunger is kind of forever.
Yeah, yeah. It's just always interesting whenever you talk to anyone who's been successful in this space, it usually they have a level of hunger that most people don't. And I'm always just curious on how to create that in people. But I think it's a good point, maybe shifting it, maybe where it is, let's write what this means for your clients. If that's your motivator, let's write what this means for different things that might matter to you. Maybe it's not money. But no, that's a good point. Well, before we go, do you have any like the one thing you did this year that you're like, "This changed my business, it was amazing," that you think people should know about?
Um, I mean, you know, I think it's a little cliche, um, but it's something that I've struggled with throughout the time that I've been kind of an entrepreneur and an agent, and it's something that I need to be very diligent to do. But it's taking, kind of movement has always been progress to me. Like if I can just do the next thing, I'm moving forward. So like stopping
Mhm,
is kind of hard. So if I can stop, create an intentional space, once a quarter, I try and go and get like a cabin in the woods, or not exactly, but just be by myself for at least a day and think about what I want and what's going to actually move the needle forward, and like do the really slow work.
mhm,
No phone, writing stuff down, thinking, and then having a time on my calendar that I look at my like goals and my vivid vision every week.
mm. I
Um,
think that's great stuff. No one makes time for it, but it's so important.
yeah. And there's always something that's more important than it, because it's like it's the like not urgent but incredibly important stuff that gets missed
Mhm,
because of the urgent stuff that's not really that important that has to get done.
yeah. I mean, it can be Walmart delivery. I mean, it's like such minor things, but you always put it above those other things. Well, thank you so
Mhm.
much, James. How can people find you?
Um, well, you can either kind of look up Revolution Realty Group. That's kind of our real estate agent branch, or Veris Paradigm Holding, and that's VERUSPRADIUMHOLDING.com. That's our holding company that owns all the Revolution companies: Revolution Renting, Revolution Investing, Revolution Realty, and Revolution Construction. So I think that would be kind of the best way, or just Google my name. I'm sure you go to enough websites, my phone number will be on there somewhere.
All right. Well, we appreciate it. Thank you so much for hanging out with us and Real Estate Rockstars. I'm Christina Leavenworth. This was a blast, and we'll hang out next time.
Thank you guys.